chapter 7, verse 15. But if an unbeliever departs, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but Elohim has called us to peace. Okay, so again, you are not under that contract. You are not bound to that marriage contract if they leave you. Okay. Again, you have to marry somebody who is a believer. You cannot be unevenly yoked. What does light have to do with darkness? What does Yahuwah have to do with Belial? Okay, so again, you have to be evenly yoked. Nelly, that is one of those things. Again, you're going to have control over that, because there's a reason for all of this. I don't have all the answers, and I'll be lying to you if I do. All I can do is show you what the scripture says. The last thing you want to be is an adulterer, okay, or an adulteress, by not having your relationship properly done. Now, is this something that Yahuwah won't forgive you for? I'm sure he will, but again, there's a thing that you're living in a so-called sin. It would be no different than somebody who is sleeping with the same sex. Okay, you know what you're doing is wrong, but you're still doing it. Right? Same thing with someone who is in this kind of situation. There's the law is the law. The rule is there for a reason. I know it might not sound or pleasing to some of you who want a way out, but a lot of this has to do with a lot of our choices. Whatever a man or a woman sows, they're going to reap. And so, we make these choices, and Yahuwah has, given you a way out through divorce when this happens. But what do you do if you're a man or your woman who's a narcissist, like one of you guys were saying, and they don't want to let you go, and they're pretty much doing it as a spite towards you. You can't repay evil with evil. Let them keep doing what they're doing, but you walk in righteousness. You need to walk in righteousness. And one of the other things here, if you continue to read this passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, this is pretty much where we're at right now in these last days. Now, concerning virgins, I have no commandment from the master, yet I give judgment. And this is again Shaul speaking his opinion as one whom the master in his mercy has made trustworthy. I suppose, therefore, that this is right because of the present distress, that is, the righteous for a man to remain as he is, or a woman to remain as she is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife, or vice versa. If you're a woman and seeking for a husband, but even if you do marry, you have not sinned. And if virgins marries, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such will have trouble in the flesh, but I would spare you. But this I say, brethren, the time is short, so that from now on, even those who have wives should be as though they had none. This is the way I am with my wife. Even though her and I are married, my mental state is as if I'm not married, meaning that the way I carry myself before Yahuwah is that I do all things for him first and then for my wife. And she knows that, because it's the same for her with me. Those who weep as though they did not weep, and those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice, those who buy as though they did not possess, and those who use the world as not misusing it, for the form of this world is passing away. And that's what we got to remember. Everything that we're doing right now is as if we got to remember that this world and the things in it are passing away. We don't do the things of this so-called romance. Again, Latin, Roman, Romanized, being romantic. all these things that the world has put on us, and that we think that this is what a relationship is all about. This is hogwash. But I understand some of you, having the burning of lust to want to have a mate. That's something you have to take before Yahuwah. I cannot answer those personal and intimate and individual questions that you have. That's something I can show you what the scripture says, but you still need to take that before Yahuwah. I had read that earlier. If you're a divorced woman, you can get remarried, but it can't be to a non-believer. It has to be with one who believes as you believe. Do not be unevenly yoked. Let me stand up for a second here. What if you are together, unmarried? Well, if you're together and you have children, you are married before the eyes of Yah. Are you talking about before the eyes of the system? Because you're married before his eyes. And if that is the case, you are not to leave your husband or wife if you come to know Yahuwah and they haven't. This is what we were talking about earlier. Keep your marriage vows here. Now to the married I command, yet not I, but Yahuwah, a wife is not to depart from her husband. But if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. Okay, this is talking about those of you who are both believers. But to the rest, I, not the master, say, if any brother has a wife who does not believe, notice the difference here. These here believe, okay? These are two that believe, all right? You have to be reconciled to your believing husband or wife. These here who do not believe, and she's willing to live with you, you are not to divorce her. And a woman likewise does not believe, if he is willing to live with her, let her not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is set apart by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is set apart by the husband. Otherwise your children would be unclean. But now they are pure, they're set apart. But if the unbeliever departs, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage. Again, you're not under that marriage contract in those cases. Meaning that you can remarry, but you got to remarry a person who's a believer. Keep your marriage vows. Hold on one second, you guys. I got to get some water. Yes. Even if your toes are getting stepped on, Amber. Well, hopefully it doesn't hurt too bad. Again, I understand, it's one of those things that it's so touchy. Exactly, Jorah. Exactly. So do we need to go through an outward ceremony of marriage? No, you don't. Marriage is when a husband comes to know his wife, and we know that to be to consummate a marriage. Just like Yitzhak did with Rebecca, there was no ceremony. What would the scriptures say if you are divorced and want to remarry? Irie, I just read that for you. You're able to remarry if the person that you are no longer married to was a non-believer. But if your husband is a believer, you're not to get remarried until he passes away. No problem, Irie. tell you guys a personal story. Since I see someone here talking about abortion, let me swallow this food real quick. Quick answer, Teresa. Yes, inside the mezuzah should be the Ten Commandments. Now, as far as abortion, so a personal story. Back up, Onyx. Watch out. I had, when I was younger, with my lover at the time, she was, we were both 18 years old. And she was living with me. And she got pregnant 3 times. And all 3 times, I paid for the abortion. You hear that? 3 times I unalived a baby because I had the money to do so. And Yah saw fit for me to still be called. But you know what the Creator did because of this? I don't have any biological children of my own. The one time that I wanted to keep the child, she had a miscarriage. The wife I'm with now, when she got pregnant by me, she also had a miscarriage. So in many ways, I look at it as if Yahuwah is saying, you unalived children because it wasn't convenient for you. And now you want children of your own because it's convenient for you? No, I'm not giving you children. You don't deserve children. You unalived 3 of them. So I share that to say that even though He forgives us for the things that we've done, like I shared earlier, whatever we reap or whatever we sow, we're going to reap. Yahuwah is not going to be mocked. And for me, that's the way my walk is. I can't speak for anybody else's walk, but that's what I've witnessed in my life. So yeah, it's hard, especially for my wife, because she wanted a child so bad by me. And yet because of my past, and I can't even call them mistakes because I did it on purpose. Yah was not going to allow that to come to fruition. But you know what's the beautiful thing on the other side of that? Is that those 2 children that were unalived that I wanted to have, not to mention the other 3 that I unalived, I will see them on the day of resurrection. Well, my wife is over the age, not to say that Yahuwah can't open her womb. Yes, Taylin, I'm so thankful for Yahuwah's love, mercy, and favor as well. Because you know how it says in the Word, but I thank Him for His mercy. I thank Him